Coming up right now, a new supercomputer claims to mimic the inner workings of the human brain. It's called Project Deep South. We got the details.
Also coming up, a 90-year-old grandmother reveals her biggest regrets in life, what you can do to change your path thanks to her advice.
All right, a little bit later on, it is a New Year's Day miracle. Workers at a recycling center reunite a man with his lost ring.
It's a miracle.
It's a miracle.
Daily Flash starts right now.
Get ready for trending news and entertainment. This is Daily Flash with your hosts, Andrea Jackson and Mitch English. The fun starts right now. This is Daily Flash.
Hi everyone, Happy New Year!
Happy New Year! There we go, cheers. I said I'm going to get festive, and I have such a large, massive head. This melon, I look like I'm going to Puxatawny Phil, don't I?
You do, but I was also thinking you're the Monopoly guy.
Yeah, Monopoly guy.
Don't get it. He'll stay in character the whole show.
Well, this is true, I know.
This thing will not fit on my head. This look like it goes like right here. Like most hats are supposed to come down to like right here, you know.
And that one just sits right on top.
None of them ever do. I never have hats that fit me correctly. Nevertheless, we're going to celebrate here on our New Year's Day. Thank you, first off, for starting the year off right here with Daily Flash, man.
Oh boy, my goodness.
Hope your head's not spinning too much.
Yeah.
Yes, and we are going to try to talk a little bit lower, but you know me, I'll get loud. Matt, how was your New Year's Eve?
You know, as I've gotten older, we really just go to dinner, stay home, and pet the cat. That was it.
That's what Jackson was saying.
know.
I wanted to go out, and I did.
Did you really?
Yeah,
Did you go big?
Well, we went out, but we didn't like stay up to midnight. You're like, oh, I don't want to deal with it. We'll hear the fireworks, you know. And I mean, so we went home and I just turned on my Windows computer and just watched the little fireworks.
Shut up, you did not.
I'm not a Windows person, you
No,
know
no,
that.
I know you're not. That I knew from the moment you said Windows we had problems. I like to stay home because I don't feel safe, you know, being out on the roads. And a lot of people refer to it as amateur night because you know a lot of folks go out and they go a little bit crazy, and sometimes it can be unsafe and people don't always follow the rules and designated drivers. So I like to just stay home.
I think, you know, and this is a big year for you, Maddie. I mean, you
Yeah.
got married this year. Did you know,
true.
was that part of it, like with you and your bride? Not to get too personal, but like saying, hey, you know, this is our year. Did you get all
Yeah, I mean, we're
happy about
stoked, you know, and we've got it coming up in a couple months, and it's been a lot of planning, and we're almost there, and, you know, that's what we're really looking forward to is kind of starting our family this year and, you know, kind of starting to grow up in my terms because it's taken me a while. I'm a little Arrested Development over
This
here.
adulting isn't all.
Yeah, I don't like
it's
it,
cracked up to
but
be, is
you know.
To hear Matt, and I've known Matt for 20-some odd years,
Yeah.
and it's like, to grow up, just
it doesn't make sense.
We're still going to Disney
he's
every
only
other
had
day,
one
so.
sip of that stuff too.
I
Yeah.
know.
All right.
Is there a place? Before we get
Sure,
started,
sure,
is
sure.
there a place that you guys have always thought, ooh, I'd love to spend New Year's Eve?
Ooh, you know, I never thought about that. I mean, I would want a big city. I know
Yes.
London would be something really nice because I know they do stuff on the river there.
I did New York one year.
I've heard
Did you do Times Square?
Yes.
I heard it's
Oh.
stupid, right?
It was
Yeah.
horrible. Luckily, we couldn't even get on into Times Square, but the person I was with knew an owner of a restaurant right around the corner on 30 Rock area, so we were able to go in there, and it was a block over.
Okay.
But when you're walking around and every corner has a cop with an AR-15 on top of an AR-15, and there's just people like this. This was before COVID. This was like 10 years ago. It was just not worth
In
it.
the bathroom situation, as I understand it.
The people that go
for
in
real
there,
though, right?
yeah. Oh yeah, they wear diapers and all that.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Like,
Just
I don't-
can't imagine spending my New Year's Eve in diapers. I
mean,
know some people do.
One day
but-
I will. I know.
I always thought Sydney, Australia would be a cool place to
That
celebrate
would be
New Year's
neat.
Eve.
Yeah. That would actually be really
I did
fun.
Vegas one year, and that was amazing.
The fireworks they go the other direction.
Yeah, they do, don't they? Along with the water that
I think
goes
so.
to-
Well, that's what I heard.
Yes,
Okay, well, even though our brains are still rocking and rolling, they're really remarkably energy efficient and capable of actually processing billions of mathematical operations per second. Well, there's a researcher now in Australia that actually is building what will be the world's first supercomputer that can mirror inner workings of the human brain. The supercomputer, it's known as Deep South. When it goes online this year, it's going to be capable of 228 trillion operations per second. It rivals the estimated rate of operations of the human brain. The hope is to better understand how our human brains can use such little power to process huge amounts of information. Now, if the researchers can work this out, they could also someday create an artificial brain more powerful than ours. Other researchers are also trying to tackle the same problem by creating biological computers powered by actual brain cells. Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's too much math for me.
Here's the thing. You can tell the guy was from Sydney, Australia, because he called it Deep South. And having grown up in the Deep South...
Your brain doesn't operate that. It doesn't compute that quick.
Not sure that's the best thing.
Right? Is that the best thing to talk about? Like how to do the calculations? Are you guys worried about AI? I mean, it seems like it's bringing us one step closer.
I mean, that was a big thing last year. I mean, as fast as it accelerated, really you saw it go from, oh, what's this jokey joke thing that you can make it write an email for you, to 6 months later, we're having to pass legislation on it because it's getting out of hand.
And the Pope's talking about it. And the thing about what they're also saying is like, well, now AI can actually help other AI generate even more. So it's, once you get started, it's a catalyst for the next step because now you have even more, a capability of using it with another AI machine.
AI is learning from AI.
It is. I was listening to some radio shows, and of course, right now they're doing the best of because it's the holiday stuff. And they ran a clip from back in January of last year, and they're starting to say, hey, have you ever heard of this Chat GPT?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, just in that short period of time.
The big thing last year was the metaverse stuff kicked off the first part of the year, and then it slowly went into its own other thing with AI, and now you're seeing the AI do the visual stuff, not just the written, and that's
on
that's the
demand
scary
too.
part.
Yeah, not even processing, doing it as it happens.
Well, as we start a new year, we should go into it without any regrets. That said, a 90-year-old grandmother has revealed her biggest regrets in life, and they might surprise you or even inspire you. Take a look.
Do you have any regrets?
Yes, I do regret marrying too young. I met my husband when I was 13 and he was 15. We got married at 17 and 19. I met him at the library. He used to ride me up on the bicycle, take me for a ride on the bicycle when we were going up to the library.
What's the secret to turning 90?
The secret? Well, there's no secret at all. I'm quite happy to not have turned 90. I didn't really want to get to 90. I've had enough. I've had all I wanted to have out the world.
Well, as you can imagine, the video offers some profound advice for the next generation. She said she got married too young.
She's 90, first off.
She looks
amazing.
amazing.
Okay, so I got married when I was 21. I started dating when I was with my wife when I was 16 and she was 14. So I would tend to believe that because, and I don't have regrets because I have 4 amazing children out of all of it. But yet when you change so much. And and everybody was telling me, and we always hear the stories of people that actually, they met young and they're still together today, But I think there is something to that.
Aunt and uncle just celebrated their 60th wedding anniversary a couple months ago.
I love that.
But you and I talked about this on one of our fantastic road trips and Heart to Hearts, where I was like, I'm glad I'm not a father yet, and I'm glad that my first marriage wouldn't have happened, because I would have been horrible. I would have been divorced. My kids would have hated me. I was not in that place.
Yeah, and what I had said to Matt was like, I think it's good because you're at an age where you got the child out of you, and now you can raise a child because you can help it out.
I like that.
Yeah. And Jackson, you've known me
know.
forever, man,
Yes.
and knowing that, like, I think that it makes a big difference in that child's life because you're able to be a parent instead of, when you're younger, you're like, well, I want to be the cool. You're stuck in a place. I want to be the dad, and I'm not too young. I want to do all the stuff I didn't get to do. Then you realize you want to do things that they need to do instead of living through
Do you
yourself.
guys ever think about like the age you are now, when your parents were that age, how old you were, and that they were parents at your age? And I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't believe my parents were this age when I was this age.
Well, my parents had me late.
Carter.
I'm almost my dad's age when he had me. So he had me when he was 40.
I was. My dad was 30 when he had me, but I'm one of 5. I'm 4 out of 5. And my oldest is 30, and when I was 30, I had 4 kids. And I look at him, I go, you know Carter?
Yeah.
Like I said, can you imagine Carter with 4 kids? No. It's amazing. So there we go. Hey, before we head to break, we want to pause a moment and reflect on those we have lost in 2023.
Well, when it comes to posting your holiday videos online, you want them to stand out.
Absolutely. And our next guest is a veteran writer, producer, and even Hollywood director. His book and video series is called, and I love it, How to Shoot Video That Doesn't Suck. You need to know it, especially today when you're going to be shooting stuff. Please welcome back to the show, Steve Stockman. Hey
Hi,
there, Steve.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So what's the biggest problem you see when it comes to the videos people share?
I think the biggest problem is that people overshare. So often what's going to happen with your holiday videos is you're going to start the camera running at the start of your holiday celebration and you leave it running for 40 minutes and then you send it to people who you then expect to watch for 40 minutes. And the fact is that it just doesn't really work that way. When people want to watch video, what they want to watch is something that isn't about the food. You know, that aluminum foil is going to be the same aluminum foil you use 10 years from now, right?
Right.
What people want is to see the faces of the people that they're working with. So the first thing is video is about people. So we don't want to just run the camera forever and ever and ever. Instead, we want to show people and show their faces so that we can see them and remember them years from now.
All right, now, so some would say, well, if I do that, I might miss those great moments, you know, because I didn't let it roll. Is that the case when you're talking about shooting short videos, that you might miss out on that?
You might, and you know, if you're just going to keep your videos on your phone and you're never going to show them to anybody, you get to do whatever you want.
Okay, good
But
point.
you expect someone to sit through them. You have to think about how people watch video. And so in this case, you know, a wide shot of the kitchen that just kind of waves around is not nearly as good as a series of shots where you can see people's faces and you can see what they're doing. Now, this is video I shot at Thanksgiving, and I get to look at everyone. Sure, I see a little piece of turkey, but mostly this is going to be about the people and what they're doing at the holiday get-together.
And Steve, you also say, don't be afraid to get close. So often we shoot video from a far distance and think, well, we can just fix it in editing.
Yeah, there's two problems with staying way on the other side of the room. One is that you will never see people's faces. And, you know, like a shot like this, you're going to go, well, who was that back in the corner? Who was that? What football game were they watching? Right. And no one really cares, right? What we want is to see their faces, because in 10 years, these faces are not going to be at all the same. So I recommend that you zoom with your feet. That is, that you actually walk up close to people and take a good look at them, as opposed to sitting way back and, you know, just kind of capturing a jumble of stuff that's going on in the room. And if you shoot short shots of people that you've framed well, kind of like a still photograph, and then you just dump those short shots out into a movie, it's going to be way more interesting than that random wave it around video that you're used to doing.
Yeah, and I'm looking at this video. I'm looking at the wall. I'm not even paying attention to the people, because I'm thinking, well, these people are going to be there. I want to see what I'm going to miss on the wall, and I'm obviously missing out what the subjects are. So that makes complete sense. But you have two other great tips, and they involve interviewing people and misbehavior. Explain that.
Well, so you want to interview people for your video, and people forget that you're allowed to do this. You know, everybody thinks, well, it's like snapshots, but this is video. So you can ask your 5-year-old what they think of New Year's Eve. You can ask them what they got for Christmas. You can ask them anything, and they're going to be fascinating, because 5-year-olds are weird people, and they're going to be totally different 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Right? So it's important to remember that you get to ask. And the misbehavior thing, it's like, don't ever stop shooting unless somebody's bleeding. Okay? It's like, if you have to do first aid, that's great. But if the cat ran up the tree and knocked the whole thing over, you shoot that, because what are you going to remember later? A polite Christmas dinner where everybody cleaned their lips with their napkins, or that time the cat nearly set the house on fire?
I got you. Steve, what about those, and I say this because I think about myself when video cameras first came out, you know, you have that one person that just is going to be the camera hog, okay, and is always going to want to try to be in every scene, but you know, granted, you want to get some of that. Is there a way, as far as direction goes, maybe like the beginning of the night, or maybe while you're shooting, some things that you can kind of lay out for everybody so that, you know, you have a really good memory?
I try not to interfere at my family functions. Maybe it's because I'm a director and people are suspicious of me.
Yeah.
But if you shoot the short shots and you line up your shots like you're taking a still photo, and you're only rolling for 10 or 15 seconds because that's all you really need of grandma putting a pie in the oven.
Okay.
People will loosen up after a little while. They'll start to take it easy. You'll become part of the furniture, and then you'll be able to document what you want, stay close to people, and have some really great memories for later.
Makes a lot of sense there. And it's those memories, too, because I can go back on stuff that I shot with my kids younger. And they last forever. And I agree with you. You want to interview that 5-year-old because he's going to have a different point of view, and he's not going to talk like that anymore, and they're never going to be that age. We're always going to be old. We're never going to be young always, right?
Well, plus, Steve, isn't it great
Yes.
to be able to bring that video out when they're about to go to prom and show their date exactly what they were like when they were 5 years old?
Especially, or that embarrassing wedding video that you're going to need 20 years from now. This is the time to capture that material for sure.
Any advice when it comes to cleaning out all your video clips and your photos?
I don't know, because there are two kinds of people in the world, right? There's people who really like to edit video, and there's people who would rather die. And I'm in the rather die category. So I'm a director, but I have editors edit, right?
There you go.
Like I haven't edited my wedding video, and that was more than 20 years ago.
Very nice.
All right, Steve, thank you so much. For more information on Steve, his book, and his video course, please check out his website, stevestockman.com, or you can go to amazon.com and search for the title, How to Shoot Video That Does Not Suck.
Trust me, if you're a dad, if you're a mom, you have a phone, you definitely want this course. You want to go through it because if you make all the great shots, you don't have to worry about editing afterwards. Good stuff.
In this week's Boss Lady, she's an Emmy-winning producer. Hello, 8 seasons of Survivor, and she's written a book called Take a Shot at Happiness, How to Write, Direct, and Produce the Life You Want. Please welcome Maria Baltazzi to Daily Flash. Hi, Maria.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me as a guest.
Great to have you on the show. You highlight some of the virtues and qualities of happy people in your book. What do they all have in common?
Well, they all have in common is that they uplift your overall well-being. You practice these virtues and qualities of happy people, and you eventually create habits. And it just, when you start to see the benefits of practicing the virtues and qualities of and habits of happier people, once you start to see the benefits, it starts to become a habit. And as it's becoming a habit, it's creating a positive neural pathway in your brain, which eventually affects your overall well-being. So each one of these, virtues and qualities impacts your overall well-being.
And Maria, in the book, you say there are 8 happiness essentials.
Correct. And what these are, they are the virtues and qualities that I qualified for myself when I was at the start of my happiness journey. And then I went and researched to see if there was science to back up what I was intuitively feeling and experiencing, and that became my book.
So how can we up our happiness game when it comes to just our day-to-day life?
Well, it's being very attentive to your thoughts. I think your thoughts really make up a lot of your happiness, how you are in the world. So it's one, making the conscious choice that you want to be happier, and then backing it up with action. And you become aware of your thoughts, and when they're negative, when they're unproductive, then you reframe them. What is the lesson that you're learning? Can you drop the thought altogether? So it's also looking for positive moments throughout the day that you can savor. And that's what my book does. It's a guidebook to happiness. So I will write about a happiness essential. So it'll be a happiness essential is a chapter in my book. And then I have readers take their cell phones and go out and take photographs. I give them photography prompts, and I have them journal about what they're photographing. And what that is doing, it's helping them to define specifically what makes them happier. So when it comes to love, how does love specifically factor into your overall well-being?
What are the 3 big lessons you learned from producing Survivor?
Well, the biggest takeaway for me was that, we all have untapped potential that we don't really know until we are tested like the survivors were. So often I would be sitting in an interview, over the seasons that I did Survivor, I saw the best and the worst in human behavior. And it had me realize that we all have that untapped potential. And so when you're either tested like the survivors were, you don't really know how you are going to be. And, you're not in a position, before buying for life-changing money to really know how your personality is going to shift, is going to change. So, I took that idea of not knowing what your full potential is until it's either tested or you explore it. And then I use that as my inspiration to create a guide to happiness and also a companion app to go with it.
You've traveled to so many amazing places. What would you consider your favorite?
Oh, Africa, by far. That continent changed me as a human. I just, the epicness of the landscape, the hospitality of the people, and I feel the age of the earth in a way that is so primal and stirring that it's intoxicating.
Well, it's been a terrific time chatting with you. The book is great. It's definitely an inspiration going into the new year. And we want to let everybody know where they can find you online. Here is the web address, mariabaltazzi.com. And one more time, the book is called Take a Shot at Happiness, How to Write, Produce, and Direct the Life You Want. You can go to mariabaltazzi.com for more information. Maria, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And we'll be sure to post this interview on our website, dailyflashshow.com, and you can connect with Maria there. So do you know a boss lady? Let us know about her. Drop me an email at andrea@dailyflashshow.com.
This is Daily Flash with your hosts, Andrea Jackson and Mitch English. Trending news and entertainment. This is Daily Flash.
Hi, everybody. Mitch English here.
Andrea Jackson.
Matt Doolittle.
Matt
Hello.
Doolittle! He's hanging out with us here on this brand new. We like, on special days, we like hanging out in the kitchen. It's fun.
Matt's at the adult table. Did you
Yes.
notice?
Yeah.
We love having you up here.
I come over once or twice a year.
It's always nice. New Year's Eve was amazing by all means. And, it's all about traditions on New Year's Eve and doing those things. And I always think that there should be like one thing you should add every year to like a New Year's Eve tradition. And we always try to at least try to eat, it sounds so stupid, but last year we instituted spaghetti sometimes during the day, mainly because my bonus son loves spaghetti. So we try to do something, just at least on New Year's Day.
So that's your tradition, that you eat spaghetti on New Year's Day?
Well,
on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve?
No, New Year's Day. But because it started off is the red beans and rice and black eyed peas, rather.
Yes.
I don't like black eyed peas
At all. My dad had the thing where you'd leave dollar coins outside and brought them in the first morning of New Year's Day, so you always have money coming in that year.
See, that's the kind of crap right there.
I like that.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
Next year, remind me, I'm doing that.
Well, it's a New Year's Day miracle!
It's a miracle!
Workers at a British recycling center have reunited a man with a gold ring he lost. The resident was helping to recycle glass when his gold ring fell off of his finger. The staff at the center sifted through hundreds of glass bottles and eventually found the ring, believe it or not. Workers say it was a great outcome and a positive way to start the new year.
And you look at that, how much, glass first off, and just trash that was that be able to find that? And I know they come in like, all right, they know like what truck comes in and
Yeah.
where and that sort of thing. But even still, just to go through all that is a miracle that they found that.
Well, and it's so tiny too. You'd
yeah,
think,
right.
like through all of that, how you could easily just miss it.
I'm not going to lose it again, I'm sure.
No. Well, our brains are remarkable, energy efficient, and capable of processing billions of mathematical operations per second. Now, researchers in Australia are building what will be the world's first supercomputer that can simulate the inner workings of the human brain. The supercomputer is known as Deep South. When it goes online
Hey, y'all.
this year, it will be capable of 228 trillion operations per second, which rivals the estimated rate of operations in the human brain. The hope is to better understand how our human brains can use such little power to process huge amounts of information. If researchers can work this out, they could someday create an artificial brain more powerful than our own. Do we really want that?
I don't know, man.
We don't need that.
Yeah.
We already got enough stuff that's confusing everybody with our own brains.
This is true. Other researchers are trying to tackle the same problem by creating biological computers powered by actual brain cells.
That's kind of crazy. I remember in the 90s, around that time, they were like, listen, computers, yeah, they're going to be pretty popular, but they're going to do a lot of human things. But one thing they can't do is what they call fuzzy logic. And fuzzy logic is the fact how humans think that, you know, okay, yeah, I want to do that, but there's variables around it. But now these computers can, so beyond that, they can actually think like humans, like, all right, well, there's all these things. And that made us feel better back then because we thought, well, there still needs to be some kind of sympathy or maybe some kind of emotion involved in it. But now they can understand emotions. That's what's scary to me.
Skynet.
Skynet,
We are this close.
and we're all like, oh, I want it to be able to write a paragraph, you know?
Yeah,
That's what it is.
I just want to get
That's
out of
how
a
it
book.
starts.
I want to get out of a book report.
Right.
Before we head to break, we want to pause for a moment and reflect on some of those we lost in 2023.
Well, welcome back to the big show. Welcome back to the big show. I'm sure that you've indulged just maybe a little too much last night. And while there's no actual cure for the hangover, there are some things actually you can do to make yourself feel a little bit better. I thought maybe we can help everybody out.
Yeah, but are they just old wives' tales? Well, let's see. We're going to write down the list for you. Number one,
Okay.
give it some time.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, tomorrow you will feel better because our bodies are working to remove the alcohol through sweat, breathing, and relief. But it can take a good 24 hours for everything to leave your system.
So you got to keep that in mind. And there's always, I've been seeing now like these vitamins and stuff you could take before the night. Have you seen these?
Yes.
Like the some like the convenience
they
stores.
really work
I don't know. I don't
though?
think so. I know it all comes down to water. My understanding is that you get dehydrated is the reason why. Am I right?
Yeah.
And that's why they say drink water. Sounds kind of simple, right? But you feel bad because mainly you're dehydrated. That ringing in your ears, I know it was loud last night, but it was because you don't have enough water. Sipping water throughout the day is helpful. What's even more helpful?
Yes.
Sipping water as you drink.
As you drink,
People
yeah.
forget to do that. If you pace yourself, then you can actually get maybe back on track a little quicker.
And we're not talking about a water back for your whiskey. We're talking about an actual tall glass of water.
Yeah, there's some folks that say they go 1 and 1. They'll drink one, drink a bottle of water.
Yes.
Drink one, have a bottle of water if you're going to do that. So keep that in mind. This one I think has been around since the dawn of man. It's
Yes.
called the hair of the dog. You know what we're talking about. And some people actually swear that if you have a few sips of alcohol, that actually makes you feel better, but it might not be such a great idea because actually you're just adding to the problem. You're continuing your body giving that not information, but the alcohol that it's dying for, giving you the hangover.
This is the one I always go to, coffee. it's a good idea anytime, but it's just going to make you feel more awake. It might lessen your headache a little bit. Caffeine's been known to help get rid of a headache, so it might help, but I don't know if it's a guarantee.
You know what I've heard too is, for caffeine, and some medications do this, it intensifies your hearing. And so that's another reason, it's so loud and everything. If you take a lot of caffeine, that could, some people have that problem. Electrolyte drink mixes. Now, there's a lot of drink mixes out there and products that promise to help you to rehydrate and replace electrolytes that you may have lost from drinking the night before. They actually contain a lot of sugar or even artificial sweeteners, so be careful with this one because you're probably just better off just with straight water altogether. That sugar is not going to help you out when it comes to just getting your body back to normal.
Because if I understand it correctly, it's the sugar that gets you in trouble.
Right. There's sugar and alcohol, remember that. Right?
And that could lead to the headache. Vitamin supplements, you mentioned this. Several vitamin supplements promise to knock a hangover right out, but approach these with caution. Make sure you read the list of ingredients because there could be drug-nutrient interactions that you're not aware of, whether you take them before you go out or when you get home.
This is probably never a good idea, but OTC painkillers. When all else fails, some people say, well, take your ibuprofen, and then another type of painkiller, and that's not going to actually help you relieve your headache and then just sleep it off. All of it ends with you're going to need to sleep it off. Yes. Hence why every county and every city has a jail called the drunk tank, right?
This is true.
All right, so keep that in mind. Your best advice too is just drink plenty of water throughout the night. If you didn't last night, today's the day to continue to drink it up. And opening the bottle of champagne a while.
It's always tricky.
And there's people that it's an art form. You've seen people with the machetes or whatever.
Yes.
I don't know how they do it.
The sword, and they pop it up.
Yeah,
we don't do that.
Chef Yvonne, she opened up these, was like a pro at it. I was like, wow, that's great. How do you open up yours?
Well, you always want to try and keep your hand over the cork so it doesn't pop off because it can from the pressure. But I always use a towel, and that helps me just kind of slowly. And some people say you should go for the big pop, and other people say you shouldn't.
You still get it.
Yeah,
right?
Of course you do. Yeah.
And then,
but then it's a little more controlled.
Is it also like beer when you pour
yes,
pour to
you
the
got
side?
to tilt the glass.
That's
So
what some say.
this is a
It's
little. It's fresh. I brewed it in my bathtub.
Did you?
last night.
Your bathtub. Well, that means it's really good. I don't need that extra water. How about that? Very good. We want to say Happy New Year. I did pretty good on mine. Happy New Year to all of you.
Yeah.
We will try to keep it down for the remainder of the show if you're hanging over, but don't worry. We got more Daily Flash.
Hair of the
very
dog.
even cog. There you go. Hair of the dog.
Welcome back to Daily Flash. Our next guest is sharing his story from being a refugee to running one of the nation's fastest growing companies. Please welcome Robert Nikic to Daily Flash. Robert, good to see you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's truly a pleasure.
So Inc. magazine announced your company is one of the fastest growing companies in the country. Tell us about it.
Look, I mean, when we started Y Unified, the intention really wasn't to be one of the fastest growing companies. Naturally, we just really wanted to innovate. You see, I came here from former Yugoslavia as an immigrant, right? So the correlation between being an immigrant and entrepreneurship, there's a really strong correlation between those two that a lot of people don't see or really know. And ideally, building one of the fastest growing companies it goes beyond just an accomplishment, but into helping other people, which naturally as an immigrant, you'll find that you just stray away from just wanting to help yourself, want to help others due to the pain, suffering, and just perseverance you've kind of gone through.
Well, I think you end up being an inspiration for so many people, especially when you come to this country and you have an idea and you know what it's like to be elsewhere, right?
Right.
And you come here, you start with nothing, and you build an empire.
That's it. Yeah, and it looks a lot easier than said, right? Yeah. What a lot of entrepreneurs are really misunderstood, and that's why I believe just being an immigrant and entrepreneurship just have such a strong correlation. When you're tossed in times of uncertainty, like I said, pain, suffering, you look left, you look right, you don't know where to turn, you don't know what to do. Naturally, you're just more so inspired to innovate and more so inspired to just act and do better, not just for yourself, but for other people too. And that's really where Y Unified came from.
So tell us about your company. What is Y Unified? What do you guys do?
Sure. So Y Unified really enables any everyday person to tread into entrepreneurship. We're a platform that enables you and anyone else to actually go ahead and sell on Amazon, Walmart, and eBay. So if you were ever, or anyone's looking to tread into entrepreneurship, but you do not want to go through that pain, you do not want to go through that suffering, you do not want to be in times of uncertainty, right? It gives you a stepping stone to go ahead and skip all that, in essence, and just go ahead and become an entrepreneur a much simpler and more easier route.
You mentioned the struggle, but also there's some sort of reward in that struggle. Give us a little bit of information about the sacrifices you've made along the way.
Sure. Look, when I immigrated to the United States with my family, we came here with 5 suitcases. My mother was pregnant with my brother, and I was just a little boy. I saw what my parents went through. I saw the struggle, but I also saw the American dream. I knew the American dream is something that my parents wanted to accomplish, and they did. I followed their footsteps, and now I want to do that for other people where, you know, they don't have to take those hard lessons and those sleepless, restless nights.
So if you could give someone one piece of advice, what would it be? How can other entrepreneurs learn from you and your experience?
I would say, you know, to a certain degree, you do need to have pain, you need to have suffering, you need to be in the unknown. Sure, you know, a shortcut like Why Unified, our platform, is great, but I don't think it should stop there. I think that, you know, ultimately, even if you do take a shortcut like that, you should still create situations for yourself where you're put in the unknown, because at the end of the day, you want to innovate. And that's exactly what Why Unified did, is we stepped outside the traditional norms. We looked at the opportunity in the industry, we innovated, and now we're helping others.
So if you can share a little bit of your struggle with somebody else, I mean, obviously it's finding that right path, right? It's finding what is yours, right?
Right.
What was yours along the way?
Mine was really, you know, ideally, I'd say one of my pain points was just seeing my family in their position where they were in. You know, when you're an entrepreneur and you're not there you're there for the chase, sure. But you've got to have an emotional pain point. You have to have something that drives you forward.
Exactly.
You know, we have over 25,000 users on our platform.
Wow.
And I see a majority of our users, you know, sure, they use us as a shortcut, but they don't just stop there. They find that pain point, and they just go further beyond that pain point and just want something more greater.
So I have to ask you, what motivated you to keep going despite, you know, a number of challenges that you likely faced along the way?
Never being put in the same position, me, myself, nor others that I was in, my family was in, the struggles that we went through when we first came to the United States. So, I mean, ideally, it's the reason why Unified was created, is really truly to help other people step outside traditional norms and not have to endure what I went through.
Well, I think it's fascinating too, because you get a peek inside other people's passions, right?
You do, and that's really what the drive is at the end of the day, is, you know, seeing someone that's just in a regular routine, you know, most people are really misunderstood. They don't understand the potential that they have. And they're kind of scared to go into the unknown. You see, I was tossed into the unknown.
Yeah.
So ideally, just taking the position of seeing other people strive without having to go through the endurance of what I went through, my family went through, is truly rewarding. And that's really what my drive is.
So let's talk about this. Any plans to take your company public?
You know, we've gotten offers from angels. We're going to stay private.
Are you?
The reason why is because I don't know if anyone can pursue that path the same way that I did. I don't, you know, whether we don't want to go ahead and have any hands meddled in our organization. I want to continue maintaining full control of our organization. I believe that passion, sticking with the organization, is critical to not only our 25,000 users plus, but the future of the company and what it stands for.
So for all of those viewers that are sitting at home and they're watching you and getting inspired by your story, where can viewers go for more information?
You know, ideally, you can visit whyunified.com and ideally explore all of your options from there. We're a combination of team and platform, so you can connect with one of our team members and they'll walk you through the process.
I love that, Robert. Thank you so much.
No, it's a pleasure having you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Help-wanted opportunities are starting to dry up as the economy continues to struggle. As a result, many people are holding on to their jobs. Here's the latest stats.
Indeed is releasing its 2024 Jobs and Hiring Trends Report.
The U.S. labor market stood strong in 2023. A repeat in 2024 won't be easy, but it is possible. The report shows workers are quitting less frequently than a few years ago. In other words, the Great Resignation has come to an end. Job postings fell considerably last year, but layoffs remained low by historical standards.
Learn more about the 2024 Hiring Trends Report at hiringlab.org.
Well, there's a tiny town in Maine experiencing a spike in tourism thanks to the stars of Magnolia Network's Maine Cabin Masters. Star of the show, Chase Morrill, is here with more.
A tiny town in Maine is experiencing a spike in tourism thanks to the stars of Magnolia Network's Maine Cabin Masters. The show follows builder Chase Morrill, his sister, his brother-in-law, and their childhood friends as they renovate rustic camp cabins in Manchester. Here's Chase Morrill with more.
My favorite part of rebuilding camps in Maine is to help preserve the memories that people cherish for generations. From historic cottages to camp cabins, we work to restore these properties, but also make sure to maintain their authenticity.
The show first aired in 2017 and is now gearing up for its 10th season on the Magnolia Network. The show's success has put the small town of Manchester on the map and has even led to a boost in visitors.
We're looking forward to the newest season of the show and sharing some amazing cabin transformations. But truly, it's been amazing to see our support for our hometown. Fans are coming from across the country to visit Kennebec Cabin Company headquarters and other local areas. It's such a surreal experience, and we are very grateful.
To learn more about Maine Cabin Masters, visit mainecabinmasters.com.
Hey, welcome back to Daily Flash. It's time to take a look at the lifestyles of the rich and famous as we dive right into some celebrity. Happy New Year to you, my lady. Celebrity real estate.
I need liquid courage to spend this kind of money.
I bet you would.
Let's start with Rod Stewart, who claims to be fed up with LA's toxic culture. He just relisted his mansion with a $10 million price increase.
Oh, wow.
6 months after putting his estate on the market for $70 million, Stewart now wants $80 million for the place. The 78-year-old Brit bought the home back in 1991 for a cool $12 million. He had it completely redone to mimic a countryside French estate. It has 12 bathrooms and 9 bedrooms. Have you noticed they all have more bathrooms than bedrooms? The mansion also features double-gated entry, a speakeasy, a huge guest house, 2 gyms, a tea room, well, of course, because he's British, and plenty of old-world touches throughout. Rod spends most of his time these days enjoying life in Europe.
Well, it says, I don't need it anymore. I can stay in Europe and get the real deal. How about that? Well, it looks like boxing star Sugar Ray Leonard knocked $4 million off the price of his ivy-covered Tuscan-style LA mansion. It's now listed. You can get it for just under $40 million. Sugar Ray and his wife bought the Pacific Palisades property back in 1993. The 6-time world champion had it rebuilt in the late 90s with an ode to Italian architecture. With the couple's kids all grown up, they're now empty nesters and they're looking to downsize. The home features 17,000 square feet of living space. Beam ceilings, stone columns, a huge, large fireplace. It also has a chef's kitchen, 2 islands, and a large pantry. They even have a screening room. There's a game room, a 2-story family room, and even a wine cellar. Now, the house sits on nearly 2 acres with a beautiful pool and a 2-story guest house. It also, of course, you got to stay active, so it has a tennis court and even a putting green, and it could be yours. Just need, what, $40 million?
$40 million bucks.
You imagine that. You know, I always wondered about that. It's like, you know, their kids are all grown up. It's just 2 people living in such one of those. Would you rather have like a grandiose house, one grandiose house, or houses all around the all around? And I promise I haven't drinking. All around the country.
I got the towel. Well, in that question, I think I'd rather have a few different houses around the country. Because what are you going to do with 17,000 square feet for just 2 people? You'd get lost in there.
You're going to need somebody else to come clean up your mess. You can actually make a mess in every room. Matt, where were you, man? You're supposed to be here for
Did it have 20 bathrooms and 5 bedrooms?
It had 2 kitchens, though.
Who needs 20 bathrooms?
Right? Thank y'all for joining and spending time with us. Happy New Year.